We are inside the original church in Neshkoro, Wisconsin. You're probably wondering, where the heck is Neshkoro, Wisconsin? Well, it's pretty darn close to Princeton, Wisconsin. If you have a fast vehicle, you can make it in about 10 minutes. Father Grubba's a little less 10, about 12. But anyways, Father, when did you start preaching here, and when did you take over as pastor of St. James in Neshkoro?
25 years ago, Father Schlafer, who was known as Padre, and he was really a beloved priest in this area, and unfortunately got sick, very sick, and it would be terminal. And so for a while, I was here just doing services and so forth, hoping that he would mend. But of course he didn't. And the bishop then asked me if I would take over Neshkoro and serve both Princeton and Neshkoro. Because up until that time, there had been two separate parishes. You know, I was I was pastor at Princeton, and he, of course, was pastor up here. So that was the beginnings 25 years ago. I've always loved Neshkoro for the simple reason that we have always had a great choir. We've always had a lot of fun. Mass is totally different here than it is in other churches that I serve in, just simply because the people have a community spirit. And so before Mass, many of them just spend their time visiting. They haven't seen each other for a week, and they'll spend their time visiting and just communicating back and forth. But when I started, this church will hold 116 people altogether. And during the winter, we probably would have about 75 people at the two Masses that we had. 75 on Saturday night, and again 75 or so on Sunday morning. But eventually, I would say 4 or 5 years, we outgrew this church, and then there had been a building behind here. It was just a pole shed, and it had garage doors on the sides. And during the summer, when the crowds grew, because of the many lakes and resort areas, we would have Mass out in the pavilion, open up those garage doors, and it was more as sort of an open air type of atmosphere. But as we outgrew this place, we had to have a place that we could go from Labor Day until Memorial Day. And so we rebuilt the pavilion and turned it into a worship center. And I must say that for the amount of money that we spent, it turned into and is just a beautiful worship center. I think it's probably because of the light-colored woods that we used and the light-colored tile and so forth. Gives it just a buoyant, light atmosphere on its own. But that's sort of the history. I've always loved being here. It was a great place to be a pastor, as was Princeton, but special in the sense that it grew so much in the days that I was here.
So you said that this church holds 104?
116.
Or 116, okay, and there were times when you first started that you had 75 people per Mass.
That was pretty much it, yeah.
Now, I have heard from people that there are some Masses over here that you go over 500?
Yeah, the largest Mass weekend that we ever had, because we continued to have two Masses. The largest crowd that we ever had on a weekend was on a Labor Day when we hit 1,005 people. But which is really just amazing when you think about it.
It's incredible. So anyways, Father and I decided, along with Lynn, that we would do this week's Mass from the original St. James. And I experienced St. James a couple weeks ago for the first time. Father will be retiring at the end of June. If you have a chance, come up to St. James in Neshkoro for a Mass, and the Mass times are?
We have Mass at 4 o'clock on Saturday night, and then 9:30 on Sunday morning.
Okay, well anyways, so look for our Mass from the original St. James this weekend on Facebook, and as always, thanks for tuning in.